all synced up. Okay, welcome. We'll start with roll call. Michael,
Present.
John,
Here.
Neil. I know Neil's here. Might be muted, Neil. Or he's having some bandwidth issues.
Sometimes.
There he
Can you
is.
hear me now?
Yes.
I'm present, yes.
Welcome, Neil. Thank you. Awana is not with us tonight. She's excused. Another appointment. And Kim?
Here.
All right. Grant is here. So we'll officially call to order and move to the flag salute. Wait for the. All right. I pledge allegiance to the
To
flag,
the flag.
United States of
United
America,
States of America.
to the republic,
To the republic.
which stands
Which stands.
one nation,
One nation.
under God,
Under God.
indivisible,
Indivisible,
with liberty and justice
liberty
for all.
and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So our first item, official item, we have recognition for School Board Director John Mortensen. This is your last board meeting. I know Kim has some words she'd like to share, and we all
Oh, no.
want to share our thanks for 26 years of service.
25.
25.
Don't know.
Yeah, 25 years.
Yep. I guess that it's almost as good as 26.
Yeah. Well, I can't say 26 because Vicky Draper, she has to have one more year than me. So yeah, 25.
I'll turn it over to
All
Kim.
right. Well, John, it is a bittersweet opportunity for me to read Rochester School District number 401 resolution number 21-A plus.
Plus.
Whereas, being of civic mind and big heart, John Mortensen decided to run for school board. Whereas he was duly elected and took his oath of office in December of 1996. Whereas finances fluctuated from near bankruptcy to times of abundance, John remained steadfast in prioritizing the needs of our students. Whereas from times of staffing reduction to years when we hired dozens of new teachers, he advocated for educators who look for the potential in all students and inspire them to dream big, set clear goals, and to keep a growth mindset. Whereas the resources available range from outdated curriculum materials to a Chromebook for every student, John championed a love of literature, history, and critical thinking. Whereas the facilities progressed from leaking, crowded spaces to freshly built schools that he worked tirelessly to garner community support to fund. Whereas throughout all his years as a board director in each of the situations he faced, John kept his dedication to the community and his heart for our students. Whereas he faithfully completed his final term of office and still fully committed to the end. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that we officially thank John Mortensen for being such an integral part of Rochester's journey over the last 25 years, and wish him best as he reclaims his Wednesday evenings. With sincere gratitude, Kimberly M. Fry, Superintendent, Rochester School District, this 8th day of December, 2021. Please join me in giving him a huge round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. That's extremely kind. And the retirement dinner was overwhelming, and I thank you very, very much. Oh no!
A little picture of John and his cake. It was a pleasure to celebrate you with the current board and with former board members, and you are going to be missed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a really interesting 25 years, and it's as Kim described, from a lot of extremes one way or the other, and yeah, it's I hope that I've served my community well, and I hope I've listened to my community and my constituents. So yeah, I thank you for being great to work with. all the school board members that I've had over the last 25 years. I really appreciate what they've done for the district, and yeah, I'm a bit overwhelmed. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. That's a lot hard to live up to. In fact, only one other person has.
Thank you, Grant.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is the first of two opportunities for public input. The first opportunity is for items that are on the agenda, and at the end, items that may not be on the agenda. I think Justin has just posted kind of public input protocol there on the screen. So please take a look at that. We'll give it about 60 seconds. If you're interested in giving public input now, please put your name in chat and email address so we can makes it easier for us to follow up. And Justin will collect those and we'll call on you.
Grant, Bubba Crento signed up to speak.
Okay, great. Bubba, the floor is yours.
So I'm talking about school impact fees, that's on the agenda. My understanding is that school impact fees are one-time charges assessed by local government against new development projects to help pay for new expanded public facilities that will directly address the increased demand created by that development. The bond to renovate and expand the high school failed, with almost all these people voting yes. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that the trust in your abilities is lost, and most of these votes will be no, due to the lack of confidence that it would be mismanaged. Why would you vote to give a discount on people to build more housing that will more likely add more students that we cannot house and support the students in this district now? Maybe you think the impact fees won't make a difference because it's not that much money. That just shows how out of touch you are with the average community member. Most of the community thinks that any amount of money is a good amount of money. It all adds up. It's hard to believe that you would want to turn down funding that's offered to the district, that the district needs to make better facilities for the students. I just want you to think about that when you vote to give needed money away and then ask the community for more. Thank you.
Thanks, Bubba. You have anybody else signed up, Justin?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, we will move on to item 5, the consent agenda. We have several items on the consent agenda. Hopefully board members have had a chance to review each of these, from minutes all the way down through some updated contracts, winter sports contracts, referral bonus, second reading of policy. Any questions on any of those items, clarifications?
I just had one minor thing on the second reading of the workforce secondary traumatic stress. And it's really just the addition of one word. I don't know if it is a big deal, but after the first sentence under policy statement, add equity after the word diversity, comma. So I don't know if we want to add just that one word or take it out, or vote with that change. Or
Thanks, John. Yeah, usually you hear that diversity, equity, and inclusion together.
yeah, I think that would be good.
All right, with that modification, can we still vote on this?
Sure.
Full consent agenda, but so with that modification, John just pointed out, under policy statement, adding equity, so it reads focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Neil. I will make that motion.
Thanks, Neil. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. It's Michael.
Thanks, Michael. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, consent agenda passes. Thanks, John. All right, moving on to reports. First report, student representative, student body president, Talon Betts. I think I saw him there. Looked like he was at the gym at the basketball game. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sorry about the noise, guys. I'm actually in sports side training the basketball game right now. But
Good for you.
can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So this week is our winter wish week. So Monday we had a flannel day. Tuesday it was ugly sweater day. Wednesday it was famous workshop, and then and color work. So freshmen were green, sophomores were like reindeer brown, juniors elves, and seniors were red. And then Thursday we had character day, and Friday we have the night before Christmas, which is pretty cool. And FFA is selling wreaths at home basketball game. So right now they're out there selling wreaths for $10. So what we got going on this holiday season. And that's all I got for y'all.
All right. Thank you, Talon.
No problem.
Any questions for Talon? All right, we appreciate your time. Enjoy the game. Thank you. All right. So next we'll move into building reports. We'll start with the primary. So Amy and Danny.
Well, thank you very much. We have actually had quite a bit of goings on here at the primary. And I say here at the primary, even though I'm, at home. One of the things I'd like to bring to everyone's attention is our Linda Housden, who has served in the district more than 13 years, but has served the last 13 as a library technician. Today was her last day with us. She's moving on to a different position, a different way of life. And I wanted to bring forward to some people's information, because maybe they didn't know, not only did she check out books and help kids connect to different authors or help kids find just right fit books, she also helped us as a school build personal libraries for our children to take home, books that our school gave to children, because kids will have books at home and they can read and reread those. And they usually receive 4 books at least a year from the primary school, so that by the time they leave us, they'll have a little library collection of 12 books at home, and that no matter where they go, they've got their little books to go with them. We had an anonymous donor 2 years in a row provide quite substantial little nest egg with the intention of helping us give more books away. And Linda is very deft at making best use of the Scholastic book sale and all of the 50% off last mark clearance price and super winter double point thingies. So she was going over with me the last details of when it's time to do the big old, book sale again, the Scholastic book sale. Please call me. I'll come and help to get the new person up and running. And she was showing me, so many dollars in this account and so many dollars still in the anonymous donor one, and then how many points she had. I was blown away, because it's one thing to kind of know. It's another thing when you're really working through it, planning for next time to go, we've got enough. She's got it organized enough. We're going to be able to give books away moving forward, even if we have bum years like last year when we didn't really get to do our fundraiser. This is sitting pretty. So I'm just so grateful for not only running the library and helping kiddos find books that stirred them, but helping us as a community give books away to our kids so they always have something with them to read. She did a phenomenal job, and she'll be greatly missed. And the Lewis County Treasurer's Office is welcome. She'll be there and, house defy them too. Whatever. Try not to be bitter. And then I'm just trying to think about, I had all these really poorly written notes in a text because I wrote it out very neatly at work and then promptly left it on my desk because, amazing like that. Oh, Peter Barno, the representative who came by and toured the high school and then toured the primary school. One of the people with him mentioned on our tour about some grants that we might be able to apply for in order to improve our playground experience. Now that we have the much longer recess where the kids are outside, they still have 2 recesses a day. And the idea is to get those masks off so they're running around, getting exercise, having face-free times. But it means that, it's rainy days and sometimes they're out there and there's some days it is awful. And so we come in when it's dangerous, but kids are going home damp. So a couple of parents said, hey, is there any way we could consider a covered play area? Well, yeah, we can consider it. And Ed Dowell came over and he and I walked some stuff off and he measured things and he got a proposal. And then I was taking a look at our playground equipment and it's 19 years old. Some pieces have been repaired a number of times, quite a few. One piece is in really good shape. Actually, 2 pieces are in really good shape, but the rest of it, and then we were looking at, some teachers and I were looking at the accessibility and usefulness for our children who have mobility challenges, kids who use wheelchairs or walkers or have other forms of supports to help them get around. And on the big toy area, there are 2 swings. That's not okay. So went through and looked through some catalogs, worked with a person who came out a couple years ago to look at our equipment and give me some advice on longevity, et cetera, et cetera. And those folks pulled off a Sunday. I emailed them, can we get this? What do you think about the bid? And by Tuesday afternoon, they had it all done so we could submit our grants. And with Kim's support, we were able to put in, I don't know if we're going to get it or not. It was a really good time, but we were able to submit both of those projects for grants. And that anonymous donor who donated to our library, the same person a couple of years back donated a sizable chunk of funds for improving the playground experience. And so we were able to say, we've got these matching funds. So I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but super excited that we were able to finally take advantage of some of these grants that come around. We usually don't learn about them until it's after the fact. So that was exciting. And, there'll be a great big hoot and holler and party if we do get it. Part of the other thing that went in the grant was how supportive our community has been about our, paved walking, running path, and how our community raised just about half the funds for that. And it was multiple years event, like about a decade's worth of time. So I can't help but think that's going to help with this grant opportunity in case they can see how much our community supports having a different kind of playground experience for the kiddos. Again, leveraging. Something else I wanted to share is, despite how hard the last couple of years have been, we have pockets of people in our schools and our school district that go out of their way to point out good times and make things better for others. So there's the mother of, I know, at least a 2nd grader, I don't remember if she has other children, Adrienne Kerrigan. She contacted us about doing something special in thanks for our bus drivers. And she partnered up with Candace Robinson and they've provided cookies and cocoa just as thanks to the drivers, because it's not been easy for anybody. And I appreciate the efforts people are going through to make other people know, thanks for what you're doing, even though it's all hard and icky. And if you drive past the primary school, please look at the library windows. Our Becca Nakano has just best friends with Richard Lawn. And she started out, instead of the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, it's on the first day of Christmas when Richard ignored me. And then she's done something fun. So across the front of the school, it says, fa la 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 lawn. So another little thing. And Danny is going to talk about a couple little things. One of which is we've been working hard, maintaining and educating and doing our due. And we've still managed to expand our support for students and families. She's going to talk a little bit about the RISE Center and how that's really coming together, and about what she's seen out at our new transitional kindergarten program, and a little something that she did to help primary school staff celebrate one another. Take it away, Danny.
And I'm in. Okay, so I will try to be brief, but thinking about how we could show gratitude to others. World Kindness Day was this November, on November 13th, and our staff participated in an event here. Every staff member had a card present, And you could pick a card from the board and express gratitude to that person and leave it on their desk or in their mailbox, just to pass positivity and gratitude around the building. Expectation that the cards would all be delivered by end of the month, and they were. And it felt good in the building to have that feeling of gratitude and positivity spread across the whole site, and everyone got to experience that. And then with our RISE Center, I just cannot talk enough. I don't know if Maggie's on here tonight. I don't know that she's here, but Gabby Ramirez and Nancy Villanueva have really stepped up with our Rochester integrated supports for education. And a lot of our families are getting matched up with resources that they need, especially at this time of year, right before the holidays, and they are just doing an amazing job. And then I was talking to Amy today, being out in the world of that transitional kindergarten program, and so excited that those kids in our community are getting that opportunity for early learning, and what they're getting to experience there with the supports from Mrs. Aliff and her EAs. It's just an amazing opportunity for kids that I feel very happy that we have that here in Rochester for our families. So that is all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Questions?
Amy? Any questions for Amy and Danny? Thank you very much. A lot going on. The grants are really, it's really exciting. So good on you jumping on that, and good luck to all of us. Okay, we will move on to Grand Mount Elementary. Kelly and Kelsey.
Good evening. I'm not sure if they mentioned the Penny Wars. If they did, I'll piggyback on that. So boosters and FAST from RPS, FAST, and then our booster club joins together, and they've done a penny war in the spring for a couple years. And the purpose of it, it's a fundraiser, and the purpose is to raise funds to give all of our kids Rochester shirts that all match, and then they use them for water bottles and other things. Rochester gear to help build that sense of community now that we're all warriors, K5. And of course, we didn't do it last year. And so what it is basically families can send pennies or coins or even dollar bills to school, and it's a quote unquote friendly war between at the primary, it's between classrooms. This year they're doing it grade level. We had to do a lot of things modified because of COVID restrictions, but they bring them in, and if you put in pennies and dollars, that adds to your balance, and you can sabotage other classrooms with putting in silver. So at the end of the day, we make announcements, and it's all in fun, and the group that wins gets special prizes. And so it's just a fun way for kids. It's the first 15 minutes as they arrive at school, so it doesn't interrupt instruction, but it gets the day off to a great start. So we're excited about that. We had a parent write in that said, I've been saving for over 1.5 years, so get ready. So they get pretty excited. I want to share a little bit about I may have shared briefly about this in the past before we had it kicked off, but as you might remember, we have all new specialists at our school at GMES this year. We have a new fitness teacher, not new to teaching, but new to the position, new to our building, music teacher. We have a new librarian. And of course, we have the newly created STEM position. So we have 25 teachers, but in the rotation of the schedule, we end up with we have 28 slots for specialist time. So the 3 slots that don't have a class scheduled all fall in the afternoon on one day. So like the music teacher is going to teach 3 full days, and then 4 sessions on one day, but have 3 slots where he doesn't have a session. And on those days, we're using that time, we call it win time, and it's what I need time. So that's a time where those specialists are, as we identify students in the building that need extra support or connection building, they are meeting with those kids just briefly to build extra connections to help them feel more a sense of belonging, to feel a positive attitude about school, whatever that kid needs. We're trying to help use that time to help fill those needs. So we also do use them to help sub some days when we're short of subs. So that that time with kids has been very impactful. We have been doing a lot of focus around universal design for learning, and social emotional support has always been a heavy theme this year. And so as we go in classrooms, and Mrs. Lincoln and myself, we're trying to watch for when we see that happen and recognize that in teachers. So we're seeing things like visuals on the wall that help kids to learn. Kids have many opportunities to show their ways they've learned a target in a variety of ways. So that's been really helpful for the learning. And then just social emotional pieces, positive things on the wall, reminders on kids' desks to help them breathe deeply when they're frustrated, those types of things. So that's pretty exciting. The last thing I had on my list was kind of backpacks on the RISE piggybacks on the RISE program. And that Danny shared is one thing that RISE does is they partner with and connect with the backpack program that comes out of Emmanuel Lutheran in Centralia. And it's a bunch of churches that work together to provide a clothing closet. Kids and families used to get to go shop there, and now what they do is a form is filled out through our RISE Center, and then they can get a backpack of all their basic needs. They get some pants, shirts, socks, underwear. And the gal who does that, Sharon Miracle, she came and presented at our staff meeting this week. So our teachers could see this is what actually goes in this backpack, shoes, coats, everything. So she brings them out to the school so families don't even have to go there. And then just privately, we get it to the student and they just take an extra backpack home. They can even shove their own backpack in there. So it's a nice way to have them supported in that way without having it known publicly. So those are some things going on at GMES. Any questions about that?
Questions for Kelly? All right, thank you. This sounds like just a wonderful program. Glad you're able to partner and keep that moving during these times. That's really important. Thank you.
Hey, Grant,
Yes.
if I could ask Kelly, how many backpacks do you give? How many in your school do you think?
I can look up that number. I know I don't have that off the top of my head because that all goes through the RISE Center. I know that the primary seems to be giving more out according to when I talked with Sharon, which was part of the reason. I actually know her personally. And that's why I invited her to come to our staff meeting, because you know, we've inundated teachers with a million things. We have all these resources. Make sure you remember them all. Oh, and teach, by the way, too. And so they're just so busy. And so I wanted, you know, when you get a person there showing the backpack, pulling all the things out, you remember, and that makes you think about, oh, there's a kid who could sure use a new set of clothes or two. So I don't know that number. She just mentioned that there's more, there seems to be more coming home from the primary. She delivers them there. So I wanted to make sure, because they serve all the way up through high school, actually. They have all kinds of clothes, but primarily the focus is K-5.
Okay, and the teachers identify these students that get them?
Yes, and it's just literally, they just have to send the name to Gabby and Nancy at the RISE Center and say, hey, I believe this kid has a need. And so Gabby and Nancy reach out to the family, because we want to honor and respect them, because some families don't want to accept help, or we might think they need help, but they really don't. And so they reach out to the family. If the family accepts the help, then they have a form they fill out that shows all of their sizes and their needs for the different clothing. And some of the jackets are gently used, but everything else is brand new that's purchased with donations. So then they just stuff the backpack, and they do also offer the opportunity for families to come in to the church where it's all stored, and they can pick it out. But many families appreciate the convenience of having it delivered. And for some families, we know that's a hardship to drive all the way into Centralia, unless you can combine it with another trip, you know.
Thank
So
you.
I can get those numbers. If you'd like me to, I can reach out to Gabby and Nancy and get those, but I don't know off the top of my head. I just know there's plenty there and we'd love to give them more. So.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. I agree with
Uh-huh, you
Grant.
bet.
Sounds like a great program.
Thanks again, Kelly. Right, to move on to Rochester Middle School. Will and Todd.
Thanks, Grant. Will was unable to be here today, so I'm filling in for him. But we did talk a little bit, and we both wanted to just express our appreciation to John for 25 years of serving the school district and the community, and just to acknowledge that and give you a thank you. We appreciate it, and best of wishes in getting some Wednesday nights back.
Thanks, Todd.
Couple events we have our first band concert of the year tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Anybody wanted to stop by and listen to some music? We have a home wrestling meet next Wednesday at 4:30. Our mid-quarter grades actually post this Friday, and almost all of our staff members have some goals set around helping students to be successful and reduce the number of failing grades in their courses. And teachers are getting after it to help students get their grades up. At the midterm, in preparation for continuing that through the end of the quarter, they're giving up their duty-free lunch. They're coming into the lunchroom. They're grabbing kiddos, say, hey, you're going to come with me, work through this assignment, and we're going to get it done. And they're just doing a lot of heavy lifting and helping kids be successful. The third thing, the last thing I'd like to just touch on is just give a little bit of a shout out to this year, the board facilitated, and I think with some COVID funds, we were able to add a student support specialist, Susie Eckley, and she's just been a gem. She's one of those people that I really admire. I think a lot like Danny here, she's one of those people that just has a knack for remembering kiddos' names. And she just greets so many kids by first name and knows little things about them. And they just light up and she's basically just doing informal check-ins with tons of kids every day. And that's just a really neat quality and trait to be able to do. But one of the big things among many things that she's done, she started kind of some student support groups where we have actually several small groups of students who kind of mesh well together. Meetings, she facilitates some dialogue and discussion to help them, whether it's with organization, with academics, whether it's with some coping strategies for some anxiety, or she's just got a big toolbox with a lot of tools and is sharing that with our school, and we're just really benefiting and appreciating it. And that's all I had tonight.
Thank you, Todd. Any questions for Todd? A lot going on. Thank you very much. All right, the high school, Mike and Kevin.
Yeah, thank you very much, and congratulations, John, and thank you for your service as well. That's quite an achievement for our community. For the last month or so, our school has been really focusing on building our multi-tiered systems of support, as well as our PBIS system. So right now we're in the process of getting all the stakeholder feedback. So we met with teachers, educational assistants, and then I was able to go out to some of our area businesses that our kids frequent for lunch and before and after school. So Taco Bell and gosh, where else did I went? McDonald's. Anyways, talked to some really nice folks out there. And then right now we're in the process of talking to every single student. So we're about 2/3 of the way through our student population. Myself and Lisa Wilson go in and we go to our CSR classes and we engage students in conversation about what expectations do they have of their fellow students and staff at our school to build a consensus about how we treat one another and what's important and how we basically respect our learning space. So that's going really, really well. Big shout out to Kevin Urich, who got, you know, as many of you might not be aware, but there's lots of requirements for our winter sports put out by WIA, and he's just done a great job in creating some really great systems for our kids to be able to participate with minimal impact. Yeah, everything's going really well. Davina Sirdal is doing a great job with Leadership Kids, getting school spirit up and running. So I don't know if you're able to hear Talon well there or not, but this week it's Spirit Week. We have something going on every day. This morning she was, you know, out there serving hot chocolate to the kids before school started. It's a good time of year. It's good to have kids there. Kevin, do you have anything else that I missed or forgot to add?
Just next Thursday on the 16th is our winter choir and band concert at 7 o'clock at the high school. So come out and listen to some holiday music on next Thursday at 7 o'clock at the high school commons. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Kevin. Looks like Michael might have froze up there.
Okay.
No, there he is. Any questions for Mike or Kevin? All right, thank you both. All right, we'll move on to management reports. So start with Kevin Urich, athletics.
Thanks, Grant, and good evening. And I too have to say, a big thank you and congratulations to John. I think back and it's hard to count the number of times you served breakfast to me. Throughout the years, but hey, good for you, John, and thanks so much for your hard work.
I always enjoyed those breakfasts too. It was fun seeing all those smiling faces that were all so enthusiastic to start the new year. So those were fun.
Thanks again. Hey, let's go ahead and start with the middle school. So middle school is finishing up season 2, and what that means for the middle school, it's comprised of co-ed wrestling and girls basketball. So the coaches share with the girls basketball, they've really enjoyed this group. They're gaining skills and basketball knowledge and have seen growth in each of their players. Confidence has also been a big thing that they've seen, and they currently, or looking at the time, they may have finished up right now, but we got a little bit tricky and unique with officials, and we're able to get a triple header in the gym down there tonight. The 8th grade team, to my knowledge, is 6-0, and the 7th grade team is 5-0. And so they're gonna, they finish up their season on the road next week with one team going to Chehalis and 2 others going to Hoquiam. So co-ed wrestling, week 1, they were winning about 15% of their matches, and currently are winning approximately 80% of their matches. And so, I think the growth that's happening, and in particular in that sport, is, you spend time in that particular kind of sport, and you learn moves between moves, and you learn to work counter moves in, and that just helps. There's nowhere to hide on the wrestling mat, and that just helps you as an individual. So they currently have 5 8th graders and 3 7th graders. They wrestle. They have two more meets, and they're in Chehalis tomorrow, and they will finish out. They'll finish out their season here at home on the 15th, next Wednesday, at the middle school. And then season 3 at the middle school will begin after the first of the year, and that's comprised of boys basketball. So winter sports here at the high school, that's comprised of girls bowling, girls and boys wrestling, girls basketball, and boys basketball. Coach reports in the bowling, they're currently 1-4 in league. But they've shown growth in each match, and the girls have set a total pin record in every game that they've played, which is great to see. Wrestling, it's early yet. We just finished week 3 last week, but we did send some some wrestlers over the weekend to different places. The boys traveled south to the Three Rivers Classic at Mark Morris, and we had 4 placers. Christian Brantz placed first in his weight class. Sean Thompson, third in his weight class. Jade Nichols placed third in his weight class. Asher Neff took 4th. Reese Kalika also took a 4th. On the girls' side, they hit it over to Yale for the jump on in tournament, and there were 2 placers in Katie Lehman, who placed 4th in her weight class, and Star Soto 5th in her weight class. Girls basketball, their numbers are down a little bit, but they're working hard against some really, really tough matchups. They play Centralia here at the high school tomorrow. And just last minute, not too much before the meeting started here this evening, Centralia does not have a JV team for tomorrow. So currently the varsity is scheduled to begin at 7. We may try to move that game up to a 6 o'clock start. Not a promise, but stay tuned. And if that's the situation, we'll certainly get that communicated. Boys basketball, working to improve. There's 30 kids out. There's 10 on the C squad, 8 on JV, 12 on the varsity. Their current record is 1-3. They had a really exciting win here Monday against Northwest Christian, which is good for confidence building. But they really played well as a team. They shot the lights out, in my opinion. They have a really challenging matchup here tonight against Tumwater. And so we're looking for some growth to happen in that game as well. Teams coming together, a lot of improvement each week. Attitude and spirit are great, reports head coach Derek Pringle. So in closing this report, before any questions, both the high school boys and girls teams would like to thank the school board for the permission to travel to Seaside to play some basketball over break. Any questions?
Thank you, Kevin. There's a lot going on. A lot to
Yeah,
coordinate.
we're moving and grooving and staying healthy and representing Rochester schools well, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Kevin, this is Michael. I just thank you for the report. I loved that you went through each of the sports and you called out the students that had some success over this last week or few weeks. That really good report. Thank you for the detail. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
All right. Thanks again, Kevin. All right, move on to maintenance. Ed Dell.
Good evening. Well, my report's going to be pretty short and sweet here, I think. We've replaced all the scoreboards that have been purchased, including the new football scoreboard. We repurposed the gym scoreboard and put it in the GMES and got the old scoreboards that were in that gym down. So hopefully it will help Kevin's programs with a little bit newer board over there. Whilst we have the man lift on rental, we've been working on parking lot and building light repairs and some tree trimming and whatnot. We're currently working on the track and field areas, sand for the long jump pits and shot put areas, stuff like that, trying to get a jump on that stuff. We still have the discus and javelin fence to install that was purchased. We're just working around the weather when that stuff goes up. Prepping, right now we're doing a lot of prepping and servicing of the equipment for winter activities and tasks, if you want to call it that, depending on what weather we may get here in the future. And to finish, just to top off on what Mike said, I walked into the high school commons this morning at about 7:15, and it was like a full-on holiday party with music, and it really kind of got you in the old spirit. So it was a good time. That's all I got. Any questions?
Questions for Ed? All right, thanks again. I know you're extremely busy. Great report. All right, business reports. Jill, looks like we have an enrollment summary and a FTE trends.
Yep. So you'll notice there aren't financial reports this month, and the treasurer's statement just came in yesterday. So that 24 hours to work on balancing the month. Didn't quite get complete, but we do have December enrollment. So where would you like to start?
Let's start with that enrollment.
The enrollment summary?
Yep.
Okay. So in December, our FTE dropped a tiny little bit, about 0.23. So we're still at 2,027.33 for our K-12 FTE. December had 66 Running Start participants and 35 students were Running Start only. Hart had a pretty big jump, so they are currently at 32 students. The Rochester Virtual Academy also had an increase to 5 students. The SPED count increased to 291 and Gravity maintained the 10 students.
Thank you. Any questions for Jill on? Okay.
That was quite a jump in, forgive me, Grant.
No, please.
That was quite a jump in the Hart High School from the beginning.
It always starts
October.
out slow
Slow.
and then they recruit kids as they go, and kids figure out, yeah, I need to get back in school, or RHS isn't working for me. So that's pretty typical to see that from the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Thanks, Jill.
You're welcome.
All right, and then the enrollment trend report.
Yep,
Please
so
turn
the
to
current
Lula.
school year's the dark blue on the bottom. We're still moving in the right direction. Hoping in the next couple months we'll pass that green line and keep growing.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Any questions for Jill on that? Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything else to share with us?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jill, could
right.
would you mind taking just a minute and explaining about how we can operate without those approvals of financials?
Yep, so the financials don't need approval. It's the vouchers and payroll that are going to happen between now and the first of the year that you won't see, but we are a first-class school district now, which means we consistently have over 2,000 FTE, which changes the authority to allow us to put a certain level of insurance on me to approve them on your behalf until you can see them. So that's because of the size of our district and we're considered first class.
Thank you. Thanks, Jill.
You're welcome.
All right, we're moving to administrative reports. Start with Justin, curriculum technology.
Yep, so I'll get started. We continue to do professional development with our teachers around classroom management, using a Safe and Civil Schools CHAMPS process. Tonight was the fourth installation. We have 20 teachers right now that are taking advantage of that training. And we'll be looking to offer that training again in probably February, early March, and then potentially in June as well. And we have our 3 of our instructional coaches are doing those trainings from 4 to 5:30. They have 2 more to go. And actually tonight was the 5th installment, not because next week is the 6th installment. So those have been planned, and Maggie and I are the ones that set up what the training looks like and whatnot, and then we have the coaches execute that training with the teachers. And there has been some big improvements, some big jumps with some teachers that really feel like it's been some timely training for themselves. And we're getting really good feedback on that. The other thing I've been spending a lot of time doing is attending PLC training. We have taken WASA up on their 3-year PLC project from an administrative standpoint, and I'm probably stealing a little bit of Kim's thunder here, but last week I spent 2 days on Zoom looking at probably a little bit different lens of unpacking standards and what that could look like, and how that might shape how teachers go about doing lesson planning and setting some learning targets and things for students. So I think really good information, some really good protocols and processes for us to look at and kind of meld into our system and figure out how they work with our current initiatives that we have going on in order to ensure that kids all learn at high levels and ensure that we're teaching that's going to allow that learning to occur at high levels. So that's since the last time we've talked, those are the couple of major things I've been working on.
Thank you, Justin. Any questions for Justin? Not. Kim for administrative update, superintendent's update.
Thank you, Grant. To say that people are hard at work is an understatement. As you've heard in this recent summary of reports, there is a lot happening within the school district. I want to start tonight by sharing a few pictures from around the district since our last meeting. So you heard that there was going to be a Thanksgiving feast, but this is a picture of some of the students who are involved and staff who distributed meals to our community. Even though we weren't open to come into the building, they provided a drive-through service for people to get a free Thanksgiving meal. These are just some pictures of students showing what they know to their teachers. These happen to be taken at the primary school. Here's a couple more. These are taken at Grand Mount Elementary School. This was high school this week. So you heard some about hot cocoa being distributed to students upon arrival. The other thing you might notice is in the background is a tree here where students can adopt family or commit to providing a gift for somebody in our community who is less fortunate than they are. So lots of opportunities to give back and bless others. I put this slide in just on the off chance that Amy wouldn't talk about Healthy Kids Grant. So again, if selected, we'll have up to $200,000 to add covering to form a play shed off of the gymnasium building over a portion of the blacktop and to upgrade the toys that are there for the kids to play on. A couple other things I want to share, some COVID updates. So some updates for staff. I just want to do some clarification. Mask types are assigned based on people's job responsibilities. So individuals, particular jobs that they're assigned throughout the day are what are used to determine what level of masks people are required to wear. And we are implementing the minimum required mask based on what is allowable through LNI. And then of course, we always make a more protective mask option available to any staff who would like to go above and beyond the LNI requirements. And district has received legal counsel confirmation that differentiating the level of PPE that we require based on people's job responsibilities is not a discriminatory act, it's a requirement. Some other things in the area of staff, all employees who were asked for an exemption were granted an exemption. No Rochester School District employees were terminated as a result of their vaccination status. And weekly COVID testing of non-vaccinated employees has been suspended due to the variability in tests. Sometimes we can get them quickly and other times we've had to borrow them from other school districts. And so unless it becomes a legal requirement for us to reinstate testing, it is not our intention to do so moving forward. On the student side of it, the district has become very aware that throughout the nation, there is conflict that is occurring between students around vaccination status. And so in an attempt to try to reduce the chances of that happening in our school district, we have made a decision to really direct any kind of correspondence with families about possible vaccination clinics, et cetera, to not plaster those types of advertisements and posters around our school because they prompt conversations between kids. Like, hey, there's this clinic, I'm gonna get vaccinated. Well, that's stupid. Why should you do that? Well, you're stupid for not being vaccinated. We don't need that type of conflict with our kids. And so any notification that we would do out of courtesy to our families, we would do that through email to parents and or through social media. And that if it's a correspondence that's coming from the district, we will make sure to emphasize that, you know, vaccination is something that is a parental decision, and encourage families to make that decision with their healthcare provider if they need advice in that area, and that those clinics and types of things are always optional. So I wanted to share that. Also, just continue to say that there are certain things that are requirements for our school district and for every school district in the state of Washington. And so something that comes as a proclamation from our governor, a directive from the Washington State Department of Health, the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services, or the Department of Labor and Industries. Specifically in the case of COVID, those are quarantining protocols, like how long you have to quarantine, the definition of what a close contact is, masking requirements and testing requirements. Those are directives that we need to follow. Districts do have flexibility to make our practices more stringent than those requirements. And so that's the area we have flexibilities to be more stringent than the other way. And it's difficult enough to put in place the basic requirement. It would be a rare situation we would consider something more stringent than that. There's continues to be people within our community who aren't in agreement with these decisions and directives, these requirements that are placed on the school district. And so we would just respectfully request that they continue advocacy to the heads of these departments. So information here: Governor, Secretary of the Department of Health, Thurston County Public Health Officer, and the Director of the Department of Labor and Industries.
Grant, if I could comment.
Sure, thanks, John.
Kim, you know how passionate I am about this, and I know I have my opinion, but I really feel if you wouldn't mind, I need to do this for my constituents and the people that I believe that, you know, I think this is important, and I don't know that this is a step that we need to take before going on to the Department of Health and Thurston County and such. So fairly simple. If you wouldn't mind for a moment, I'd like to make a motion that the Rochester School District, when implementing COVID-19 procedures, one, will only implement the minimum procedures that are required, not recommended. Two, will modify the implementation of those procedures to meet the following three criteria. A, provide equal benefits and risks to all district students and employees. B, procedures meet U.S., Washington State, and RSD non-discrimination laws and policy. Procedures must treat vaccinated and unvaccinated students and employees and community members alike and are indistinguishable, and uphold federal and Washington State constitutional rights and current Washington State laws as defined by RCW and WACs. And three, return to pre-October 18th requirements when implementing COVID-19 mandates. No testing without reason from any persons when having to wear a mask. Any two-ply mask is the minimum requirement. Any face covering beyond a two-ply mask is per student, employee, or community choice. So I hope you understand that it's important to me and important to the people in my constituency that I make that motion.
Thank you, John. There's a couple questions. I think many of those items were just covered in what Kim just reviewed with us. So it seems like they steps on each other a little bit. And then some of the language, I need some time to read. I heard you, but to be able to read through some of that language around some of the legal requirements, 'cause I think we're bound to follow those things anyway. So making a motion to follow them seems redundant.
I know, but it's a step that needs to be taken. And basically, we can call for a vote and each one of us votes and then we go on.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Would you mind repeating the motion?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
And it's in the chat also. It's posted in the chat. So I put it in the chat. So the Rochester School District, when implementing COVID-19 procedures, will only implement the minimum procedures that are required, not recommended. 2, will modify the implementation of those procedures to meet the following 3 criteria: provide equal benefits and risks to all district students and employees. The procedures meet US, Washington State, and RSD non-discrimination laws and policy. Procedures must treat vaccinated and unvaccinated students and employees and community members alike and or indistinguishable, and uphold federal and Washington State constitutional rights and current Washington State laws as defined by RCWs and WACs. And 3, return to pre-COVID-18 requirements when implementing COVID-19 mandates. No testing without reason from any persons when having to wear a mask. Any 2-ply mask is the minimum requirement. Any face covering beyond a 2-ply mask is per student, employee, and community member choice. So we have done some of these things, but it's important that I bring it before the board and that we vote on the motion and either pass or deny.
Okay, so we have a motion. Any other comment, Michael? Looks like you might want to say something, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I disagree with anything here, but I do need to study it a little bit more. The second bullet you mentioned about making some modifications. That's one that I need to know more about, John, before I would be ready to vote. I'm happy to read it over and kind of discern on it, but I think we said we were going to follow the guidelines, but make some modifications. And I just want to make sure we can make modifications. So I don't know. I think I would want to give this a little bit more study before voting on it. Most of it sounds great. I don't know that I disagree with much of at all of it. I just want to make sure that we don't pass something and then there's one element of it that's going to
well, and some of it as in, because I'm pretty passionate about the way that some of the things are being done and WIAA, that's a difficult situation where we don't test vaccinated kids, but we do test unvaccinated. So basically, number 3, in returning to October, pre-October 18 requirements, that's basically the date that they threw the light switch. And then we went to all these requirements, or I should say more recommendations that the masking, and I believe, Kim, you said that the unvaccinated don't have to wear the KN95s, or they do, or so it's things along that line where, it just.
I hear you saying, John. I get your example on WIA. If we don't follow those requirements, we don't play.
Right. Well, and if we don't follow the requirements of testing the unvaccinated,
but that kind of contradicts the other argument of following the absolute minimal requirement. We would make the requirement more restrictive.
But it's
I
equitable.
understand the equity. I understand the equity,
Right,
language, but
right.
it's opposite of what we just said. So I mean, I think my take on it, I think we are trying to take the minimal approach, trying to do the, what we're required to do as effectively and fairly as we possibly can. I think the district is, and you've been part of this, helping us see that and make those choices. But I still think it's got to be, we've got to give ourselves room on a case-by-case basis to be able to evaluate that. This, as an example, if it was a fire code, a fire marshal, there's minimal requirements, but they have a recommendation. I know you're talking about COVID-19 specifically, but we need to be open to be able to evaluate that. I think that's clearly the approach we're taking. But we don't know what's coming next. We all want it to go away. But
Yeah, very true. So I just thought that it was important that before I leave as elected official representing the constituents in my area, that I voice that I bring it up.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Further conversation?
And it doesn't have to be seconded because the parliamentary procedures for, I don't know if you can see that. Huh, you can't.
No.
Well, seconds are not required for motions made by members. This should not, in small boards, this should not be necessary in a small board. So basically all we have to do is take a vote and either passes or fails.
You may absolutely be right. That's not my understanding. My understanding is we need a first and a second and discussion. And
This is Neil. I would like to, John is correct. He does not need to have a second according to small boards. Went through that with the WASDA thing. But I do believe that our only option is to put more stringent rules in place instead of following the minimum requirements of the Thurston County Health, State Health, LNI, as so we could require everyone to wear a K&N filter mask instead of a 2-ply, but we can't go the other way. I believe this is some information that we probably should run through our attorney, the school district's attorney, before we do anything like this. Because, I don't want to rain on John's parade. He is correct. He doesn't need a second. But I believe that we're setting ourselves up for some possible litigation from other people in our district who are doing what they're supposed to be doing and following the rules. And if we don't follow the rules that are in place by the health department, we are setting the district up for liability. So, that's my opinion at this time. And I ask that we table this vote. Thank you.
Grant?
Yes.
If I might say another word here, I would like an analysis between what Kim went over and what the proposal is. I'm not sure we can rush through that tonight, but I feel like most of these were taken care of. And if there's a couple on them that say revert back, and revert back doesn't have us playing, or modify, and if modify puts us out of any requirements, and I think we need to know what those are before we make a decision and go forward. So if we're in a place where we don't need a second, we need to vote tonight, my no vote would be because I need to know more about a couple of the components. But I think if we do the analysis, I don't think we're that far off. I feel like the district has come a long ways to keep the requirements at a minimum and do the best to protect the staff and the students and the public. And I think we just need to take some time to do that analysis. And John, I certainly understand you bringing it forward tonight with your last meeting. I don't want to
And you
urge
can,
that in any way, but
yeah,
that would be my place.
and you can also table the motion.
If that's an option, then that would be my recommendation, is we table it until we have an opportunity to do an analysis with it. So,
And then you'd vote on the motion to table it till a later date.
Okay, so I'm hearing we have a motion to take us to the vote. We have a motion to table. Do I hear a second to table it? I'll second
Am
that.
I the maker of the motion to table then?
I'm not sure if you were or Mike was, sorry. I think you both said similar things. I would echo what Michael said and what I shared earlier. John, I think what you said is, and what's in that, I think that's primarily from the petition. That
Yeah,
most of
parliamentary
that are-
procedures
Yeah.
allow you to do that.
Yeah, I think that the items are addressed primarily. Kim just reported on. I think there's a couple things that I have that I wouldn't agree to. I think we are taking a minimal approach, but I think we need to have the flexibility on a case-by-case basis to make a different decision.
Sure.
And then I'm not sure about some of the, well, on the equity piece, I see the argument, but I also is testing being the argument on WIA. On one hand, we can't say we're going to test everybody and we're going to take a minimalist approach. Those two contradict from minimal requirements to the rules. So, but I think we're on the right, I believe we're on the right track here with most of the intention.
Well, and I appreciate everybody understanding my passion and so yeah, that's and if you guys vote to table it, then that's parliamentary procedure says that's what we do.
So we're back to John. I know you won't be here at the next vote, so I also want to honor your opportunity to make this motion. If you want to vote, I'm willing to take it to a vote. My vote would be no, because I think we are, for the most part, I think meeting the intent you just described, and I think we need to have flexibility on a case-by-case basis, understanding what the requirements are. So,
Okay, Michael.
yeah, is the vote called for? Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah, because I mean, like you said earlier, you'd vote no because the same reasons for grant. So that makes it easy.
Yeah, I would tonight, John.
Sure.
My preference would be to table it and get a little bit more analysis done comparing the two and see where we are at the next meeting. So.
Neil?
Yeah, I really respect you, John, and I've learned a lot from you over the last couple of years, and I think you're amazing, and I look forward to trying to reach out to you if I have any questions in the future. At this point in time, I would have to say no. I prefer to table it until we had more opportunity to check into this and using the attorney. But if we're coming to a vote tonight, this is what my vote has to be. We have to protect the children.
Okay, and I would vote yes. So Grant can declare what.
So I'm not sorry. I'm not sure what we just did. We just
Well, you
voted,
just basically
and we just tabled. So I think we just voted that to not move this forward. But we're all the intent I think is there. And but some of the language we need to clarify, change.
Basically the motion fails 3-0. 3-1.
3-1, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't run that very well.
No, that's all right.
I'm glad we had the
And-
conversation, but
Yeah, and
Robert's
I'm,
rules, I
yeah.
failed.
and I'm sorry, it's just, you guys know how I am, and I wanted to try and make it as easy as possible, just to be able to, call for the vote, but, yeah, I know we're gonna, the education is the most important part for the kids. And, a lot of times I really feel that a lot of this interferes with the kids' in education and their social emotional well-being, and how you teach kids while they're masked. And like Kim said, while you have divisions of people that are vaxxed and unvaxxed, and I wish we could just get rid of it all and at least go back to prior to October 18th. But yeah, I also know how the world, or I shouldn't say the world, because it's really interesting. Other states don't do this. So I just feel really sorry for our kids that we have to put them through this because of how Washington state government feels when there's the other half of the United States and other countries that don't do this to their kids. So I mean, and that's just my passion. And I appreciate you guys going through this, because it's not easy, but it's something that we have to do so we can take the next steps.
Grant, would you like me to continue on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'd
thank
be
you.
happy to do that. So a couple additional announcements and then I'll wrap it up. The swearing in ceremony that the county provides for all newly elected officials. So that includes Thomas Trutt and Michael Langer, who was reelected. That ceremony is December 29th at 3 p.m. via Zoom. So those folks will receive invitations, and then I believe there's a way for the public to view as well. If you're interested, you can reach out to the district.
And I pass my baton to Thomas.
Yes. A couple other things. There's a lot of craziness happening in schools and around schools right now. And so we are preparing to send a reminder of safety protocols out to all families tomorrow. Final translations are happening right now, so it can go out in both English and Spanish. It will re-explain our run, hide, fight protocol that we have for schools, and talk about the do's and don'ts of if there is an emergency at school, the role, what parents can do to be of most service and to make the situation as safe as possible for kids. It also has a variety of contact numbers to reach out for help if somebody becomes aware of something that seems suspicious, or whether they need to get some type of support for their child or a child that they know. So that will be going out tomorrow. And then board training on January 19th, facilitated by Dana Anderson, Superintendent of ESD 113, and it will particularly focus on roles, responsibilities, and operating procedures. And I believe, yeah, this is my last slide. So thank you all for your amazing service in this crazy year of 2021. And when we meet again for our next board meeting, it will be 2022. So thank you all, and I wish you all Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. So any questions for me? Excuse me.
Thank you, Kim.
Not at this time.
All right. So that ends our reports. The next item is school impact fees.
And on the school impact fees, I know Bubba commented, and I believe he's out there somewhere. I'd love to meet with him and talk with him a little bit more about school impact fees, because it's important to the district to have those as a growing community. So yeah, I would love to have a conversation with Bubba.
Thank you. I would too. To open invitation. So school impact fees. Last time we met, we decided to table this till this meeting. I can't remember the percentage we were circling around. It seemed off.
It was just a little bit because it was going to be the same as previous impact fees, so that basically wouldn't be raised to the community. And I was fine with that. So, you know, I'm ready to vote yes on passing those school impact fees.
So could we simply make a motion to maintain the existing impact fees
Yes, you may.
instead of?
This
Any
is
discussion
Neil.
on
I have
that?
a question. These impact fees, are these calculated and assessed to everyone in our district area, or are these for new construction? For new projects, new construction that's being built in our area?
Right.
New construction.
New.
And Kim, I believe they divide it between single family housing and multiple dwellings, like between houses and apartments.
Correct. So like a duplex would fit into the category of a multifamily dwelling. That tends to be the only example we've had in our community thus far is a duplex in terms of that. Some communities, they would be considered, you know, apartment houses would fit into that.
And we've had these fees for, oh geez, as long as I've been on the board. It's been something that, as especially a district like us that has grown so fast over the years, to help house students.
I think the concern was not, expressed was not fully charging as much as we could.
Right.
So you know, in the past, the board's position has been, you know, expressed and voted their, you know, in that, along those lines has been to try to reduce the burden, how much it costs for a family to move into a new home. And so, yep.
And I believe
it is permissible to keep the amount the same from year to year.
Yeah, and I just believe in these times with the economy and things that I would prefer. I'd feel better if we left them the same.
And John, was that 65%?
I think 64% was a little higher than I thought, because I think 64% makes it a little bit higher. So I should have said 63, but my math was not perfect.
And it doesn't come out as a round number. And so there is not a requirement to set a percentage. You can merely say we are going to maintain the existing fee structure, or you're welcome to say the percentage. In this case, to keep that existing fee structure, it would not be a round number.
And I think I would make the motion that we keep the current mitigation impact fees.
Existing fee structure.
Yes.
I'll second that. Any other discussion?
I will third that for John.
Thanks, Neil.
Give one to John on the way out here.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, moves forward, maintaining existing fee structure. Thank you. Moving to new business. We have an out-of-state travel request.
Out-of-state travel request is for a teacher to attend training in April in California. And this is a requirement for her to maintain a special certification that she has in Kagan strategies. And she then serves as a trainer for our school district.
Great.
Kagan strategies?
Yes.
Oh, I see it. Yes, Kagan school trainer recertification.
I'd make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel. Here's a
Second. I'll second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's approved. All right, next item, contract, Brenda House ASL subcontract.
She will provide services should we have an ASL teacher that is unable to work a particular day or period of time. As you might expect, there are not a lot of people who have ASL skills and can come in and work as a substitute. So having her available to us is quite a find.
So this is new for
It's
this
new.
person, for this
Yes.
person.
For this person, and expenditures would be based on the number of days the service is provided.
Is her fee pretty much standard?
Yes, it's $60 per hour, which is very typical for that line of work. I know it sounds like a lot.
Well, I don't know. In my business, that doesn't sound like a lot, to tell you the truth.
Any other discussion, or you hear a motion to approve the ASL subcontract?
This is
I'll
Neil.
move
I'll
that
make that
we-
motion.
There you go. Go for it, Neil.
So
Yes,
Neil
I make
moved.
the motion to approve the temporary contract for Brenda House.
Michael, are you seconding?
I'll second, yes.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 And I'm trying to let you guys do a lot of these motions in seconds because I was always so quick on doing them that give you some practice for January.
All right, contract passes. Thank you. All right, so we have the two expenditures. KCDA music equipment for GMES.
We'll let Justin speak to this expenditure, please.
So as we had a change in the teacher, the specialist that Kelly talked about earlier in the meeting, with a new music teacher, we'd like to, and he would like to expand the offerings of musical instruments and things that we're able to do. So the equipment is a bunch of different xylophones, in which case to do some more percussion style music education with kiddos. So this is something that he is very well trained in this model. So I asked for your guys' approval for these.
Thanks, Justin. Any questions for Justin?
Grant,
Yeah.
I have a question, but it's tangentially related. I just wonder, maybe at a future board meeting coming up, if we could have an update on the student participation in the arts. When Justin mentioned the offering more equipment, it just kind of hit me. We've kind of paid attention to the athletics and paid attention to the enrollment and so forth, but we really haven't talked too much about whether the art programs are students are able to take full advantage of them, or whether we're growing them and so forth during the COVID time. So if we could maybe put that on a future agenda, and I don't have any specific questions about these expenditures.
Thank you, Michael. Great idea. All right, if there are no other questions, I would move to approve the expenditure, music equipment. Do I hear a second?
This is Neil. I will second that motion.
Thank you,
I love
Neil.
the kids playing with instruments.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, expenditure is approved. The next expenditure is for a Kubota tractor.
And we will have Ed, if he's still available, talk to
Ma'am,
this.
yes.
And I do have a picture that I can show. So as you're talking, I'll find my picture.
Okay.
Talk fast, Ed. Talk fast.
Okay, this is a Kubota. It's a power unit that will allow the maintenance to better facilitize with our snow blowing, our snow removal, fertilizing, sweeping. And what it will also do is enable us to move our current gator to the athletic department so that they have the gator that they've been trying to acquire for the past couple of years.
Ed, does that have a PTO on it?
It does, and it has a live front end to run a two-way snowplow and run our sweeper. And if you've ever seen our guys use the John Deere implement that we have to run the sweeper in the middle of a snowstorm, there's more snow on them than there is on the ground where they just swept it. So that would make it so that a person could kind of stay working for 4, 5, 6 hours without doing an hour and changing into new insulated coveralls. So
I like that you chose a Kubota. That's
yeah,
good
I
quality.
priced several of them, and for the money, that is the best unit that there is. The John Deere was like $8,000 more, and not the same unit. So
Do you think your ROI on this is like 3 to 5 years?
I think if we take care of that, I think we can make this thing last a substantial amount of time. It's you know, as long as the guys run it and operate it right, all the stuff that it can do for us, it'll cut down on a lot of our truck time. You know, we're using pickups to drive in the field where you have 2 people in this and have less impact on our fields and whatnot. I hope to modify this for our leaf extraction abilities as well, so that we can cut down on our leaf time. Right now, we got a pretty good system, but I think this will cut it in half.
Sorry, my
Ed,
picture
this
wasn't
is
as clear as I
Neil.
thought it would be.
Ed, this is Neil. I had a quick question. Is that a 4-wheel drive unit?
It is 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive.
Perfect. Exactly what you need for snow removal.
Yeah.
Can I come ride it? I want to come drive it.
We'll gladly volunteer you some time on that, Neil.
I love construction.
Any other questions for Ed? Or the expenditure itself? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the expenditure for Kubota RTV?
This is Michael, I would move the motion forward. I did wear my Kubota hat for you tonight there too.
Oh, nice.
Well played.
Thanks for the
No,
support.
no kickbacks are happening though, so I move that we approve the expenditure.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Neil. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Expenditures approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, we have some surplus.
So there is a variety of surplus lists from maintenance, athletics, and technology. They can be approved in one motion.
Okay.
Justin, any calculus books? Oh, I guess I should ask Shauna, shouldn't I? I should ask Sean if there's any calculus books in there. I'm sorry, forgive me. Go ahead.
Any questions about the items on the surplus list there? If not, I would move to approve the surplus items. Do I hear a second?
This is Neil. I will second that motion.
Thank you, Neil. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, surplus is approved. All right. Okay, so this is we're moving into the second opportunity for public input. I think Justin sent a note out earlier. So please, if you haven't already, have additional input to give, please put your name and email address in the chat. We'll be able to call in that order. Also posted the public comment procedure and guidelines on the screen there. Please take a look at that. And Justin, if you could maybe give me a list as they start coming in, and we can start calling on folks.
Yeah, we can start. Lindsay Baker's first on the list.
All right, Lindsay, welcome.
Hi, I'm just here this evening, and it's very apparent that you guys are not going to change your discriminatory ways, and you're violating our children's constitutional rights. So I will be, the district will receive my declaration of intent tomorrow to withdraw my students from this district. I'm not going anywhere. I still will be here because I am a taxpayer, but I'm not going to have my children in this district any longer.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Yep.
Mark Nelson.
Welcome, Mark.
Election law.
Okay.
Am I there? Hi. Hey,
Mark.
good evening. Thanks for having me. Guys, I'll introduce myself in a moment, but I first just want to say I'm here to attack a problem. I'm not here to attack people. And the problem I'm going to attack is the blind leading the blind. I'm going to put it in layman's terms. So my name is Mark Nelson. I am a respiratory protection program specialist. I own and operate a occupational safety and health consulting firm in Washington. My postgraduate education includes a MBA. And more relevant, I'm a two-time graduate of the University of Washington's OSHA Safety and Health Specialist Program. I've spent over a decade working with over 200 businesses in Washington, as well as 6 years for the federal government, for the Department of Energy, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and naval facilities as a safety and health advisor. So needless to say, not my first conversation about masks. You guys are speaking about either matching the state requirements or doing more than what the state requires. And I just want to throw out a couple of ideas. There is a document that the state put out called Which Mask for Which Task. And I will say this document is about 50% accurate. Okay. And what I mean by that is they've separated the term mask and respirator into two different things. And up until last year, those two terms were synonymous. Now it's kind of cleverly been separated. So a mask and a respirator are two different things. So now I'm questioning, is a mask and a dish rag the same thing? Because apparently to the protocol, I can't separate the two. So what is true on this is what it says about respirators. And I do have a point to this, getting back to what you want to do with masks. The law has been for decades that any employer that insists that a mask or a respirator goes on an employee, first off, those programs have to be administered by a qualified source. A person can't do this unless you're a subject matter expert. Again, back to the blind leading the blind. Somebody with extensive knowledge in respiratory protection has to develop a curriculum by first doing a workplace analysis, determining what the actual hazard is. Okay, and once you've determined what the actual hazard is, then you build your respirator program on that. And that includes medical evaluations for your employees to make sure that it's safe for them to wear a respirator. It includes fit testing, because masks are not very beneficial unless they're fit tested, and that's a lot longer than I have tonight. It would include comprehensive training, and then cartridge or mask change out schedules, because wearing a dirty mask on your face, again, is you wearing a dirty rag on your face. And that's why somebody who's competent and qualified in these topics need to be involved in the administration of these programs. What I question on this are, again, these masks, which aren't even sourced on here other than Wikimedia. They literally have referenced Wikimedia as a reference for their pictures of masks. Guys, up until a couple years ago, a KN95 would have been, you would have been cited by LNI for wearing a KN95, which is a Chinese knockoff of an N95. And we went from them being illegal or not approved to being forced. So that's a long way to travel in a short amount of time. So again, I would encourage you guys to vet whatever your program or whatever you're going to do. Another quick thing, I know I'm very short in time. You don't have to go back very far to prove what I'm saying. And it is getting harder and harder to find information pre-2020. But a comprehensive study from the Infection Disease Society in America from 2017, this is a meta-analysis on masks in the workplace. And it says in here that single-use medical masks are preferred to cloth masks for which there is no evidence of protection. And that the mask might actually facilitate the transmission of pathogens when used repeatedly without adequate sterilization. All of these rules that existed 2 years ago had been literally like just thrown in the trash. It's like they don't even exist anymore. I've written dozens and dozens and dozens of corporate respiratory protection programs, which in effect today are garbage because of these mask mandates. So someone was talking earlier about liability. Well, let's talk liability. You build it, you own it. That's what I would advise any client. Again, I'm tackling a problem here, not people. So I would encourage you guys to be really pragmatic in the development of your mask requirements, and certainly be aware of the potential risks of doing that improperly or in contradiction with existing law. Thank you.
Mark, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next up, we have Jason Watt, then Carrie Wallace.
First, I'd like to thank John for all of his years of service and showing us what real leadership is supposed to look like. Given masking is the only mitigation factor required within the K-12 school requirements, 2021-2022 school year, Washington State, published by the Washington State Department of Health, all school personnel, volunteers, visitors, and students must wear cloth face coverings or an acceptable alternative, e.g. surgical masks, clear face shields with a drape at schools when indoors in accordance with the Secretary of Health's mask order. School districts must support compliance with mask requirements among staff, students, volunteers, family, and visitors. Therefore, any of the 3 masks proposed on the LNI guidelines meets the requirements for all, regardless of vaccination status. The district's policy to require increased PPE, for example, the KN95 mask, is nothing more than visible discrimination. The district requires additional PPE based on defined risk levels. Then those risk levels must be defined by data, actual data, that supports the necessity of more requirements and policies. And policy must be applied across all students, staff, volunteers, visitors, and families, regardless of vaccination status. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have Carrie Wallace, then Heather Mitchell.
Hey, thank you, board members. So I have a question. What data have you been provided from the district administration that demonstrates unvaccinated staff have acquired COVID-19 in the Rochester School District work environment at a higher rate or percentage than vaccinated staff? What data have you, the board members, reviewed that justifies the requirement for increased PPE should only be applied to a select group of individuals with the workplace environment, which results in visual discrimination? If increased PPE is necessary to assure increased safety with the school environment, shouldn't the policy for increased PPE be applied equally across all groups within the Rochester school environment? It has been historical and standard practice in the implementation of Rochester School District policies that they are implemented equally across all groups. What is the benefit to our students, staff, and community to divide the Rochester school environment by groups and treat them differently? Why now is it acceptable to the board of directors to label groups within the Rochester School District and treat them differently? The official definition of discrimination is the practice of unfairly treating a person or group of people differently from the other people or groups of people. Racial, sexual, religious discrimination equals discrimination based on race, sex, religion, disability, equals discrimination on the basis of race, sex, religion, disability. The law prohibits only staff with religious or medical exemptions, a protected right under non-discrimination law, receive accommodations that require increased safety measures. Why would the board of directors not require the Rochester administration to implement increased safety measures across all groups within the Rochester School District? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carrie. Heather Mitchell, then Robert Ginter.
Hey, board, thank you. I want to take just a quick minute to have a quick shout out to John and thank him for all of his hard work and representing his constituents. I want the entire board to know that your community is watching you. Tonight, as represented by the signatures on the petition, we community members of Rochester request that you, the board, make a motion to adopt the criteria specified within the petition and apply it to all current and future COVID-19 mandates. We request that you, the board, vote on this motion to adopt criteria by which you implemented COVID-19 mandates by roll call. That's all for tonight, and shout out to Lindsay Baker.
Thanks, Heather. Robert Ginter, then Debbie Belcher.
Hello, my name is Rob Ginter. WIAA requirements currently require the labeling of one group unvaccinated students only to test when participating within close contact sports. According to the CDC, November 12, 2021, vaccines have been quite effective at preventing cases of COVID-19 that lead to severe illness and death, but none have proved reliable at blocking transmission of the virus. Board of Directors, can you explain to your community why then would you not require all Rochester students participating in close contact sports to adhere to the same testing guidelines? If the testing guidelines are being implemented for student safety, then both vaccinated and unvaccinated should be tested. Do you agree with the administration's implementation to test only unvaccinated staff? How can you assure we parents and community members that you're keeping all students safe when all, regardless of vaccinated status, can acquire and spread the transmission of the virus? Why would you not want to keep all students safe? Never before has Rochester School District students with religious exemptions from vaccinations been labeled as a group according to their vaccinated status, been identified as such to their peers or community, nor treated differently. What is your justification or district data to support condoning those discriminatory actions now? According to the CDC, 0.000095% of students have died from COVID-19, and yet all students are required to wear a mask in school environments in Washington State. If that is the approach the district has embraced by implementation of the mandates, then how do you justify to your community that if you test some students in the name of safety, you would not test all students in the name of safety? The policies targeting the unvaccinated students creates barriers to social and academic inclusion. It creates obstacles to social and academic achievement. It also increases negative impacts to students' mental and physical health, including increases in depression, anxiety, and suicide. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Rob. Debbie Belcher, then Scott Heinrich.
Hi. Thank you, John, for your service. Week after week, we ask you to engage with us in your community, to recognize and include us as stakeholders in the leadership and educational priorities of our children. In the words of Desmond Tutu, we are not interested in picking up crumbs of compassion thrown from the table of someone who considers himself master. Rather, we request the full menu of rights of our children and community. We understand it is typically the role of the district administration to guide and create opportunities for communication and collaboration with community members. However, it is the duty of the Board of Directors to oversee all district operations and in holding a position of a local legislative body to communicate and collaborate with your constituents. Why are you, the board, not taking an active role in interpretation and implementation of COVID-19 mandates within our district? We have met and discussed with Rochester School District Administration and confirmed that there is no current criteria for the implementation of COVID-19 mandates. The operations have been under the direction of district administration only. This is the reason we community members of Rochester stand before you tonight, providing you with the criteria we believe COVID-19 mandates should be implemented within the Rochester School District. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Debbie. Scott Heinrich, then Terry Blankenship.
How are you doing tonight? This is Scott Heinrich. By now you've received the petition, including 415 community member and student signatures, which I'll read to you now. Action. We, the citizens of the Rochester, demand the Rochester School District Board of Directors and Rochester School District Superintendent, when implementing COVID-19 mandates within the Rochester School District, adhere to the following criteria. 1, only implement the minimum requirements that are required, not recommended. 2, modify the implementation of those procedures to meet the following. A, provide equal benefits to the risk to all district students and employees. B, the procedures meet U.S., Washington State, and RSD non-discrimination laws and policies. Procedures must treat vaccinated and unvaccinated students, employees, and community members alike and/or indistinguishable. C, uphold federal and Washington state constitutional rights and current Washington state laws as defined by the RCW and the WACs. 3, return to the pre-October 18 requirements when implementing COVID-19 mandates. No tests without reason of any person or persons. When having to wear a mask, any 2-ply mask is the minimum requirement. Any face covering beyond a 2-ply mask per student, employee, or community member is choice. Thank you for your time.
Terry Blankenship and Heather Webering.
The name?
Hello, my name is Terry Blankenship, and I am here to clarify, if you haven't gotten it the first 10 times, what we're here fighting for tonight. Tonight, as represented by the signatures on the petition that you received, we, the community members of Rochester, request that you, the board, make a motion to adopt the criteria specified within the petition and apply it to all current and future COVID-19 mandates. We request that you, the board, vote on this motion to adopt criteria by which you implement COVID-19 mandates by roll call. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Heather Webering, then Ann Corento.
Hi there. So, John, thank you for your service, by the way. And I am not just a graduate of Rochester, but I am second generation. I had my child as a third generation and chose to pull him out mainly because of what was going on in the school district. So mask, PPE mitigating factors. Masking is the only mitigating factor required within the K-12 school requirements 2021-2022 school year Washington State published by the Washington State Department of Health. All other mitigation factors are recommended as reasonable. 1, multiple layer protective mitigating factors are not required, rather recommended. All school personnel, volunteers, visitors, and students must wear face cloth coverings or an acceptable alternative, e.g. surgical mask or clear face shield with a drape, at school when indoors in accordance with the Secretary of Health's mask order. School districts must support compliance with mask requirements among staff, students, volunteers, visitors, and families. Cloth face coverings are currently required. Increased PPE, including specific masking, is a recommendation, not a requirement. There is no evidence based on conclusive research data to support the implementation of increased levels of PPE for unvaccinated employees only. The district's implementation of masking should be consistent across all stakeholders, students, employees, volunteers, contractors, and subcontractors. Therefore, wearing more PPE beyond a face cloth covering should be implemented only as per employee choice, not a requirement. Furthermore, if the district requires increased PPE of only unvaccinated students, employees, volunteers, or contractors, the district would be responsible for creating a respiratory protection program. I know this is sounding redundant, implemented by a trained respiratory program director to provide ongoing training and evaluation of the program PPE. Students, employees, and contractors are required by the district to wear across school environments. Mask mandates contradict current or existing health and safety codes for respiratory protection in the state of Washington. According to the WAC code 296-842-100, employers are legally required to evaluate respiratory hazards and implement control methods as outlined in airborne contaminants. Chapter 296-841 WAC WAC code. According to the WAC 296-842-10595, employers must designate a program administrator who has overall responsibility for the employer's respiratory protection program from airborne contaminants. This coordinator must be sufficiently trained to oversee program development, coordinate implementation, and conduct required evaluations of the program effectiveness over time. The effectiveness and safety hazards in accordance with WAC 296-842-11005 to include at a minimum medical evaluation provisions. WAC 296-842-14005, procedures to properly clean and disinfect. WAC code 296-842-20125, if they are reused, proper storage. WAC code 296-842-17010, so that using them does not create hazards. Lastly, procedures to ensure that there is safe air supply and effective training of employees to ensure use does not create a hazard. WAC code 296-842-20010 says, did the board of directors oversee the hiring of a trained respiratory program director for students, employers, or community members that they have required to wear increased PPE as a result of vaccinated status in accordance with the Washington state laws? My question to you is, if you're talking about liability, you might want to look back at this. Thank you.
So, Ann Corrento, then Mike Morrow.
Mr. Martinson, I want to thank you for your service and let you know that you will be missed. COVID-19 testing within the Rochester School District is a recommended mitigation strategy, not a required mitigation strategy. The district has the ability and adequate funding through the ESSER funds if it determines testing is necessary. The Rochester School District's implementation of COVID-19 testing at the local level must adhere to non-discrimination according to the district's non-discrimination policy and federal and state constitutional rights and laws. Therefore, district testing policies must be applied equitably across all demographic groups to include both vaccinated and unvaccinated students, employees, or community members when using testing as a tool to ensure school and community safety. For example, if the district abides with the WIAA testing regulations for close contact sports, then both vaccinated and unvaccinated students must engage in biweekly testing. Given the district must follow CDC guidelines according to the Washington Department of Health, and the lack of insufficient evidence provided by the medical research community, identifying an immunity level of safety and or clear distinction of safety between vaccinated, unvaccinated, and individuals with natural immunity, the district must implement testing procedures equally across all groups of individuals, vaccinated, unvaccinated, and those with natural immunity, or they violate individual civil rights when implementing testing procedures as a safety protocol. According to the CDC, quote, the risk for SARS-CoV-2 infection is fully vaccinated people cannot be completely eliminated as long as there is continued community transmission of the virus, end quote. According to the CDC, November 12, 2021, quote, vaccines have been quite effective at preventing cases of COVID-19 that led to severe illness and death, but none has proved reliable at blocking transmission of the virus. Recent evidence has also made clear that the immunity provided by vaccines can wane in a matter of months. The result is that even if vaccination were universal, the coronavirus would probably continue to spread. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mike Morrow and Amanda Singleton.
Hello, my name is Mike. Thanks for allowing me to speak. What is at stake? The future of our community and school district. According to the Rochester School District Board of Directors and Superintendent response to the community petition Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, Rochester School District is required to comply as directed until the mandate is revoked, or unless a court of law determines it is unlawful. While mandates and regulations that are not law cannot therefore be determined to be unlawful and will not be revoked by those who overstep their executive powers or authority to order them. Local individuals who serve as the legislative body that are legally responsible and have final authority in all matters concerning operation of public schools are required, according to their bylaws and charter, as citizens and government officials of this state, to follow the federal and Washington State Constitution and Washington State laws. Furthermore, implementing COVID-19 mandates through procedures, policies that continue to violate state and federal constitutional rights and laws is not only a violation of professional codes of ethics by which they are professionally bound, it is also considered official misconduct under the color of law. Therefore, our local legislative body, the Rochester School Board of Directors and Superintendent of Rochester School District, are subject to compliance with state and federal laws and regulations, and therefore, so are the operations they implement. Failure to do so is to assume legal liability on behalf of the school district. I think about that one, as well as themselves personally. That one really. According to RCW 8A.80.010, number 1, a public servant is guilty of official misconduct if, with the intent to obtain a benefit or to deprive another person of a lawful right or privilege. A, he or she intentionally commits an unauthorized act under the color of law. Or he or she intentionally refrains from performing a duty imposed upon him or her by law. Official misconduct is a gross misdemeanor. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Amanda Singleton and Karina Watt.
John, thank you for all that you've done. I met you when I reached out about 18 months ago, and we've spent a lot of time together since. I appreciate everything that you're doing. In 2019, I agreed to co-chair the Bond and Levy Committee for the 2020 February election. Even though I felt in over my head and had never done this before, I knew my time spent would be worth it. I've always thought to myself, who wouldn't ever vote yes for the schools? Now, at this time, Rochester School District has lost my yes vote. I have withdrawn all 3 of my kids from the district. With the exception of my district representative, my perception is that you as a board are not a bit concerned with the student withdrawals that have taken place over the last year and are only slightly concerned that this might have financial impact. Again, this is my perception. This is my perception because here, from our perspective as parents, you're not reaching out and engaging with us to collaborate on a path forward. Our input as parents appears to have no value. It appears you've made your decision to let the superintendent make the decisions without community input. I believe that if you were truly concerned about the safety of our students and staff, you would take a moment to review your policies. We all know that regardless of the vaccination status, boosters or not, the COVID-19 virus can be contracted and spread by all. So how can we justify this approach to making non-vaccinated staff wear a KN95 mask and non-vaccinated students test for sports, but not those that are vaccinated? If we're so concerned about safety, vaccination status would not be a factor in our decision-making. You would apply those safety measures to all students and all staff. Instead, it seems you've taken a stand and decided that in this scenario, discrimination is okay. I'm curious, do we have supporting data that shows our vaccinated staff and students test positive at a higher rate than the vaccinated staff and students? I 100% believe that we should unmask our kids and that people should choose if vaccination is right for themselves and their children. But I'm not even asking you to get all crazy and make a stand. I'm asking you to stop the discrimination. In a one-on-one conversation with the superintendent, she noted that for every parent that feels like I do, there's one that feels the opposite. Assuming that's the case, why wouldn't those parents want everyone playing sports to be tested as a safety precaution and everyone to wear what you've determined to be the safest mask available? Because this is about safety for our students and staff, right? In closing, I'm again asking you to review the policies. Do what is required, not recommended, making decisions that apply to all of the student body and staff. Do not single out a specific group and announce their personal and medical preferences. Do not contribute to this greater effort to create a divide in our district, our state, and our country. Hold true to being the heart of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Karina, then Tabitha.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. And John, I wanted to thank you for your many years of service. You've been on the board the entire time I've been an employee as well as a community member. So thank you for many, many years of service, breakfasts, and all the things that you have done for community. We, the community, are extending our hand and respectfully asking for you, the board, to take it. Your community is placing before you an incredible opportunity to adopt the criteria on the petition when implementing government mandates at a local level. Taking this simple but critical action affirms what is already your duty and obligation, your privilege in holding a position of public service during these challenging times.
It treats students and community members, staff alike, indistinguishable. It upholds the district's non-discrimination policy. It upholds federal and state constitutional rights and laws. It upholds safety for all, as any safety measures implemented within the district should be applied equally across all groups. As it is the obligation of the district to keep all students, community members, and staff safe. And as we have heard over and over tonight, and as you all know, the CDC continues to report that the vaccinated folks still can both catch and spread the virus. Taking action tonight to make a motion to adopt the community's criteria through a roll call vote demonstrates to your community and your constituents that you have heard them and stand with them in upholding the district's mission and values to honor inclusion, uphold a positive workplace climate so that students, community members, and staff have equal opportunity to establish a sense of belonging, value, and worth. It pledges your commitment to an active collaboration with your community, to uphold the district goals, to ensure student achievement success, to create an environment that promotes caring relationships. It honors families and community members participation, promoting respect and pride for our schools. It promotes and protects the community's investment in resources and optimizes student achievement. In the words of Mother Teresa, not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. The opportunity placed before you tonight by your community is a critical opportunity to affirm through action that Rochester School District is truly the heart of community, and take a step to begin to heal the division that has occurred through the adoption of government mandates without weighing them in accordance to our district policies and community values. It is truly as simple as doing unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Thank you, Karina. Tabitha Dennison.
Hi, my name is Tabitha Dennison. I am a parent to children in our school district, and I am an educator. In 1933, there was a country that declared a state of emergency. This declaration ended individual freedoms, including freedom of press, speech, assembly, and the right of privacy. Then discrimination of others who were outspoken, neurodivergent, disabled, or particular religion or race began. There was one minority group of people that were considered to be a threat to the health of the majority. They had to have papers of verification and were separated from society. There were major enforcers that complied to the dictates of the leader. They used fear to control and maintain their agenda. This country was Germany. History is being repeated right here, right now, in the state of Washington, in the United States of America. Our rights are being stripped from us after a state of emergency was declared and reinstated, and a group of people are considered to be a threat to the health of others. Verification is being asked of this group. The Department of Health, OSBI, and local businesses are being the enforcers of this dictate, just like the stormtroopers and SS of Nazi Germany. Fear of losing jobs, friends, families, schooling, sports participation, and the ability to shop at stores has kept individuals compliant to these unlawful mandates, just as it did to the people of Germany. Looking back at history, we ask ourselves, how could the German people allow these atrocities to happen to the Jewish, neurodivergent, and disabled people? As a veteran, I have stood and pledged an oath, and I willingly do it again to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic. Right now, I stand for our rights. One of our rights is right of religion. Even if you don't agree with that particular religion, we have teachers and students in our school district that are being unlawfully discriminated against because of their highly held religious beliefs. I urge our school district to stop being controlled by fear. Stop breaking the law. Bring back staff who have been dismissed due to discrimination. Isolation or quarantining of teachers and students who are unvaccinated and not sick needs to stop. I ask you to start being courageous and stand up to tyranny and stand for the rights that we are afforded in the founding papers of our state and federal constitution. After World War II, we all pledged to never allow the atrocities that happened in Germany to happen again. It takes people to be courageous and stand. Be courageous, like all those resistance fighters of World War II that we all hoped that we would have been. I know I'm going to be a resistance fighter. A side note, when the whole football team is quarantined, but the vax players can return without being tested the very next day, and the unvaxxed have to wait 5 days, then be tested, or don't take a test, and wait 10 days to return to school, kids know who is vaxxed and who isn't. Taking posters down from the walls doesn't help. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. That's the last on my list. Is there anyone else?
Nope, that's it, John or Grant.
Thank you. Okay, we are, thank you all for your input tonight. We are going to move to executive session. Are we 15 minutes? Do you have an estimate?
I think 15 minutes will do it, yes.
Okay. So, and no action to be taken?
No action.
We will, so we're going to executive session for 15 minutes. We'll come back and adjourn the meeting with no action taken.
Grant, do you mind if we call a short recess for a bathroom break prior to executive session?
Yes, so thank you. So let's take 5 minutes. We'll come back at 8:45 for executive session. We'll put us back, expect to be back in the main room at 9 to adjourn.
Thank you.
See you at 8:45. Thank you.
There we go. And admit.
Okay, thank you, board members. 9:02, we will adjourn the meeting. Have a good evening. Have a good rest of your week.
Merry Christmas, all of those
Merry
things.
Christmas.
In case I don't see your faces before then.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.